Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome to today's episode of How You're Getting Fucked. I'm your host, Louis Rossman, and today we're going to be discussing what Fender did. I hate using the word Fender here because the gentleman that started Fender died in 1991, and I'm sure that if he saw what people were doing 35 years later with his company, he would be rolling in his fucking grave. And it's one of the reasons that even when I get really aggravated at how my company is going or certain things, even when I'm at my maximum in terms of frustration, I always have to think to myself and remember that when I sell my company, my name is going to be on something that other people have the ability to destroy. And if I were to sell my company, other people could do the most fucked up shit with my company name, which is attached to my last name and my reputation and my person, and there's nothing I can do about it, which is why I don't sell my business, even when it sometimes just really fucking annoys me. And one of the things that really makes me sad here is that Leo Fender didn't have a say in the matter, particularly because he's dead. So what happened here? Fender decided to go after a bunch of smaller guitar makers that were making guitars that they say looked similar to theirs. And they sent legal threats. The legal threats I'm going to get into were saying things like, destroy these guitars, we need to know exactly how many of them you sold so that we know what the damages are, stop selling them, stop making them, destroy them. And then when this didn't get received well, the CEO comes out on stage and makes these comments that, in my opinion, are the comments, again, I'm not a clinical psychologist, I will be clear with that. That is a very, very clear disclaimer. It's just the kind of shit that a sociopath does. It's one of those things where they say something that can have multiple meanings and they know what they're doing as they're doing it so that they can weasel their way out of accountability or responsibility for something in a way that really pisses me off. So let's get into the history of this. Fender launched the Stratocaster guitar around 1954. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm an expert on companies fucking over users. I'm not an expert on guitars or musical instruments. So I believe that Fender launched the Stratocaster in 1954, and for 70 years, they had a specific headstock shape and they left the double cutaway body alone. In 2009, the company, not Leo Fender, the gentleman that started the company, but the company after he died, tried to trademark the Stratocaster, Telecaster, and Precision body shape as trademarks. And they actually declared it generic, and they rejected the trademark. You must keep that in mind. Over 16 years ago, they rejected their application for a trademark. Now what are they doing? So there are separate parts to a guitar. You have the head, you have the neck, and you have the body. The head is the part where the tuning pegs sit that you turn in order to tune the guitar strings, and the body is the part that actually makes the sound. It's the part that has the hole. It's the part that you put your hand in. Oh my God, don't quote me saying that. I should, please remember to edit this shit out the video. You get the idea. Fender's trademarks have usually covered the headstock shape, which has their logo on it, not the entirety of the fucking guitar. So what happened here? On December 22nd, 2025, there was a court in Dusseldorf that issued a default judgment against Yiwu Philharmonic Musical Instruments Co. It looks like they sell guitars on AliExpress. They had sold a single guitar on the AliExpress storefront Shuffle Musical Instrument Store for 61.69 euros, shipped to a buyer in Meerbusch, Germany on May 27, 2025. I apologize for mispronouncing that and butchering it. Now, the company never appeared. I'm not surprised. The Chinese seller who sold one guitar for 61 euros is not flying to court in Germany. The court classified the Stratocaster body as a work of applied art under Section 2(1), number 4, and 2(2) of the German Copyright Act, and they described the body as an outstanding free creative achievement with soft curves evoking associations with a female torso, hips, waist, and arms. Now, this set up a statutory ceiling for future violations by the defendant that 250,000 euros per infringement, or up to 6 months imprisonment if the fine cannot be enforced. And Fender treated this result as if it is a precedent for the entire industry. They're saying, and I quote, as one that reinforces the value of originality. Now, Fender did not fight against somebody and win. They filed a court case against somebody in another country that didn't show up, and then they pretend to win that person didn't show up. Well, I guess we win. And that's usually how it works in a court case. If the person that I'm suing doesn't even show up, I may get a default judgment, but that does not mean that a precedent has been set with case law. Precedence with case law means that I went up against somebody else, we went back and forth for a year or two, the jury decided in my favor, now there's a precedent. That is different from a default judgment. A default judgment does not mean shit. Ronald Bienstock of Fox Rothschild, the attorney who beat Fender with regards to their original trademark, argues that the rule binds only the single absent Chinese defendant. It was never tested against a real legal argument. Marks and Clerk, a UK IP firm, reached the same point, noting that Yiwu did not appear before the court or put up a determined defense. A default judgment does not mean that you have a contested ruling. It doesn't mean that the claim has been tested. An analogy, let's say that your name is Joe and you were about to have a boxing match with your friend Mark, but you don't show up to the match. Now, you may not make the money, you may lose the bet, you may get made fun of, but you not showing up for the match for whatever reason does not mean that it is 100% guaranteed that Mark would have beat you up. If you show up for the match and Mark beats the living shit out of you and just completely destroys you, then you can say, okay, look, we have a precedent that Mark was at least at one point in time a better fighter than Joe. But if he doesn't show up, you don't know. And it's the same thing with the court case. Now let's talk about the cease and desist letters that got sent out. To be clear, I do not have a primary source, and I've looked as much as I can. The only thing I could find are other people quoting redacted cease and desist letters. This is important because I'm going to be siding with the people who are claiming that this letter was sent as it is, rather than with the CEO, and I'm going to explain my reasoning in the end. Let's talk about what the actual letter said. You are therefore infringing our client's copyright in the Stratocaster body shape. As a consequence, our client has claims against you to cease and desist from further making such guitars, disclosure of information about your sales and marketing, damages, destruction of the infringing products, recall of the infringing products, and reimbursement of our legal fees. Our client therefore insists that you immediately stop manufacturing, marketing, selling, and producing the infringing products and confirm this to us by May 25th, 2026. However, should you fail to respond accordingly within the deadline, we will advise our client to commence the required further judicial steps against you without further hesitation. So let's go over what this is asking for. It is asking for commercial sales data, so figures on how many instruments are sold so that they can calculate damages. It is asking them to stop manufacturing the guitars. Destruction of the infringing products is pretty clear. It means they want you to destroy the products that you are making. That seems like pretty plain English to me. And recall means that they want existing unsold inventory returned to them. That does not mean that if you bought one of the infringing guitars, they're trying to get your guitar back, nor does it mean that they want to know the name of everybody the guitar was sold to. What that means is if that guitar is sitting in a store and it is unsold, they want that guitar brought back to the company, the manufacturer, so that it can then be destroyed. LSL is a company, they're a small family-run guitar company in the United States that confirmed it got the letter, and they set up a GoFundMe to cover the legal defense costs, and I will link that down below for anybody interested. Paul Reed Smith also confirmed that it was one of the companies that got a letter. Now, let's discuss some of the garbage that the CEO said and why it is that I believe these smaller guitar manufacturers rather than the CEO. The CEO said this.
First and foremost, Fender is not suing anybody. What we've done is to reach out thoughtfully and respectively to a handful of companies whose guitars come extremely close to replicating the iconic Fender Stratocaster design. No inventory destruction. Those comments were unfortunate, but we are not asking anyone to destroy inventory.
Let's go through this line by line. First and foremost, Fender is not suing anybody. What we've done is reach out thoughtfully and respectfully to a handful of companies whose guitars come extremely close to replicating the iconic Fender Stratocaster design. Okay, so you're not suing anybody. You're just saying that if they don't destroy all of their property, that you are going to, and I quote, commence the required further judicial steps against you without further hesitation. You're not suing anybody, but you're going to commence the further required judicial steps against you without further hesitation. What the fuck does that mean, asshole? And why are you hiring a lawyer for if you're not suing anybody? He said, no inventory destruction. Those comments were unfortunate. We're not asking anybody to destroy inventory. You see what I'm talking about with the weasel words? Most of the people in my audience are not sociopathic pieces of shit, so you may not understand what's going on there with the sleight of hand is. No inventory destruction. Those comments are unfortunate. No inventory destruction. Does that mean that what do you mean? We never intended to do that. That letter is lying. Guitar.com is lying. Every one of those small guitar manufacturers is lying. That's never what we said. That's bullshit. It's unfortunate that all of you published falsehoods. Or it could mean no inventory destruction. We've changed our mind. What we said before, we don't mean it anymore. I apologize. We never wanted to have people destroy their inventory. And the comments that we made were unfortunate. They were ill-guided and we shouldn't have made them. We shouldn't have hired a lawyer to go after the case in that manner. What he said leaves him the wiggle room to play both sides of the room at the same time. And he's hoping that while you're confused by trying to figure out what the fuck he even means, he's not allowing you to peg him into either one of those categories because he is a weaselly little bitch that you will just kind of forget about the issue and just let him fill your mind with bullshit, which is what he does with the extra 15 minutes of that video. And the thing that bothers me the most about him, it reminds me of an interview that I did with Michael Carvin about 11 years ago. Michael Carvin was a great drummer. He had a drum instruction school at Progressive Music, and he was a big influence on my life, even though I never played drums or tried to play drums before. And one of the lessons that he was talking about that I tried to talk about in this interview, I'll bring it up if I actually have it. I don't know if I still have this or if we talked about it, was when people would say, I'm sorry. There are genuine people that will say, I apologize, I did this wrong, I'm sorry. And then there are pieces of shit that will walk up to you and go, sorry. What the fuck does that even mean? I'm sorry means I know I did something wrong and I'm apologizing for what I did wrong. Sorry. What does that mean? Michael Carvin used to say this best. He would say, does that mean you're sorry for what you did? Does that mean I should be sorry for calling you out on something? Are you calling me petty? Should I be sorry? Is your mama sorry? Is your daddy sorry? Like the way he would say it was much better than anything I could bring up. But the point he was making is that when somebody says, I'm sorry, they're taking accountability and responsibility for whatever they did, and he could work with that. But if he says, oh, you're late to class, and you go, sorry, he would literally take his fucking cigar. He would put it through the $100 bill that student had for the class and go, I don't give a fuck about your sorry. He was a great dude. He was at the top of his craft. He always demanded respect. And if you gave him respect, you got respect in return. He was a class act. But if you fucked with him, oh man, you do not fuck with Michael Carvin. He was a cool dude.
No excuses. I do not believe in excuses.
I remember that.
Why, Lewis? Why? Because excuses breed failures. Because you will never hear a successful person say something like this. Oh, I would like to apologize for having my refrigerator full of food. You will never hear a successful person say, oh, I'm so sorry that I have enough money to buy braces for my children's teeth. So as an educator, Lewis, as a drum teacher, when a new student come to me and they use the language hard and can't, then I'll say to them, well, if you believe it's hard, then why won't you leave? Because I'm not going to let you waste my time. And if they say they can't, then I'll say, well, why did you bother to even get up today? Because if you can't do something, then don't be wasting the world time. And there's one thing with the new students, and it always happened, and that's just the way it is because of the language that they pick up from other people, and there's nothing wrong with it in television and the media. Is sorry. Today, you can be walking down the street and somebody will bump into you and they just say, sorry. They don't even look at you. They don't say, I'm sorry. They just bump, sorry, bump, sorry. So I was telling a student of mine once, he was saying, oh man, I'm really sorry. Oh, Michael, I'm sorry. And finally I said, man, let me tell you what sorry means to me. When a person tell me that they are sorry, this is what they're telling me. Carvin, shut up and don't ask me anything about why I'm not here on time like I'm supposed to be. Sorry mean, okay, be quiet. Don't say nothing to me. You know, and I mean, really, what does it mean? I'm sorry. Why are you sorry? Well, what are you sorry for? What happened? What happened? Would you kill somebody? What are you sorry for? Well, I'm late. You aren't sorry because you're late. Or you would have been on time. I mean, how can you admit that you are something, but you won't correct it? If you are on time, there's no sense to say, oh man, you know, I'm really sorry, I'm late. No, you're not. No, you're not.
If you were, you would have done it right the first time.
Exactly. And so when they say, I'm sorry, they are saying to me, don't ask me anything.
I'm absolved.
Yeah. You know.
I remember you told me that story a while ago that somebody had bumped into you in the street and they had said sorry, but they didn't say you're like, who's sorry? Are you sorry? Am I sorry? Is that person sorry?
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it's just amazing, man. You know, language, Lewis, we have to be careful with language. You know, language is very important, man. You know, like, I will not let any words cross my lips if they don't serve me.
So do you feel that sorry is a way of getting out of personal responsibility?
Of course it is. Because look, is the person born with a sorry fiber in their body?
I don't think so.
Well, then what does it mean then?
Stop asking me why I did something
Exactly,
wrong.
Isn't it, man? It's like, hey, Carvin, I'm sorry, but you know, well, shut up. I just, you know, I mean, that's...
Stop being rude and looking at me for doing something wrong.
Yeah. Because if we are sorry in the sense of our physical makeup, then we should go to a doctor and correct that. But I don't think that any child is born sorry.
I agree with that.
You know, I mean, so as as we grow up, the language, we pick up the language. And everybody do it. I mean, you're not a bad guy or a good guy. If one of your new clients should come to you tomorrow and say, "Oh, Louis, I'm really sorry," that ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't make you a good guy, or bad guy. What we are discussing at this point is just that if we would stop using that language, then we will find that we could be more successful. See, I tell my students constantly, guys, or ladies and gentlemen, look, you have to be out of your mind. A person have to be out of their mind, Louis, if they want to be successful. Why? Why? Because it requires too much discipline. When? All the time. All the time. From the moment you get up until the moment you go to bed, it requires discipline. And that's not a gimme. And this is something that have taken me years to develop. I'm never late for anything. Why should I be when I know that, hey, I made this appointment. We made this appointment today, Louis, where you and I would meet today at 4 p.m. You walked in with your crew. I'm here. We doing it. The only thing we said to each other, "Hey, man, it's great to see you because I haven't seen you in years." You know, it's nothing to be sorry about. You came here to do your show. You invited me, and thank you, by the way, Louis. So it's business, ladies and gentlemen. It's business. And business is not personal. Business is business. So in business, there's nothing to be sorry about. Just like a guy came to me late once. He said, "Oh, Mr. Carvin, I'm sorry I'm late." I said, "How long have you been in New York?" He said, "Oh, I was born and raised here." I say, "Okay." I said, "I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. Why is it that I can be on time in an area that I wasn't born and raised in, and you was born and raised in this area, and you are late?" "Well, you know, the subway was this or that." I'd say, but was that the first time that had ever happened in the history of the subway?
Everything that he said can be used and interpreted in either way. Because the CEO, in my opinion, and you're welcome to sue me for it, is a lying, weaselly little bitch that cannot commit to one or the other. He could either come out and say, "Yeah, we think the guitar looks like ours, and you know what? The trademark office already said we can't trademark that, but fuck that shit. I'm going to piss on the legacy of Leo Fender and start suing any small guitar maker that makes something similar to our design, even though we couldn't trademark it. Fuck you." Or he could say, "Listen, we wanted to make more money. You can't blame us, right? Every CEO wants to make more money nowadays and shit, if I crap and monopolize the market. Yeah, you know, we tried to do that and it wasn't a bad idea. We got some PR blowback. I'm sorry, bro. Please forgive us." But he can't. He has to walk this line where everything he says can mean one of two things. No inventory destruction. Does that mean that everybody's lying about what was in your letter, or does that mean you change your mind? The comments are unfortunate. Does that mean you regret your statement, or that everybody was lying about the contents of the letter? What does this mean? Because of the way the CEO has spoken, even though I don't have a primary source for that letter being sent, I am going to side with Guitar.com, and I'm also siding with these smaller guitar companies. Because the CEO is using weaselly words that speak out the side of his mouth for a reason. There's a very specific goal that he has in mind in saying that. It's to muddy the waters by using wishy-washy words that don't mean anything, that don't commit to anything, while evading accountability and responsibility. And honestly, the biggest victim here, in my opinion, is not the small guitar makers, is not the people that want to buy these. It's Leo Fender. If he got to see what his company was doing in his name 35 years later, I genuinely believe that he would be rolling in his grave. Anytime I think about selling my company, anytime my company just gets to me and pisses me off and grates on me, and I think it's been 18 years, 19 years of doing this now, am I ready to move on and admit that there's other things to do in my life? I'm just going to think back to this in cases like this and think about what it would feel like 15 to 20 years from now, seeing in the news that my company is world famous with my name for ripping people off and fucking them over and not even having the balls to admit that that's what they're doing. If you're watching this, Bud Cole, up yours, asshole. Fuck you. Take the words to heart that my good friend Dino said. If you're going to be the bitch, be the whole bitch. Or get the fuck off the stage. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.